Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're getting into something truly remarkable. A scientific milestone, really. Creating babies using DNA from 3 people.
Yeah, and it's not just a concept, is it? This is happening. 8 children already born in the UK using this method.
Exactly. It marks a huge shift in how we might tackle certain inherited diseases.
And the core problem this tech targets is, well, it's incredibly serious. We're talking about severe hereditary conditions, specifically mitochondrial disease.
Mitochondria, the powerhouses of the cell, right?
That's them. And when they don't work properly, it basically starves the body of energy.
Oh, yeah.
It can lead to devastating, sometimes fatal conditions.
So our mission today for you listening is to really unpack this. How does this technique actually work? What does it mean for families? What results are we seeing? And of course, the bigger questions it raises.
Yeah, how such a tiny amount of DNA can make such a massive difference is quite something.
Okay, so to really get the importance of this, let's try and imagine what it's like living with one of these conditions, a disease that just relentlessly drains the body's energy. That's the reality for families dealing with mitochondrial disease.
It really is. Mitochondria, they're these tiny little structures in almost every cell we have. And they're unique because they have their own DNA, separate from the main stuff in the nucleus.
And inherited only from a mother.
Inherited only from the mother, exactly. Their job is critical, using oxygen, converting food into the energy, the fuel our bodies run on. So when they're defective, well, the body just can't generate enough power.
Leading to severe disability.
Severe disability, yeah.
Yeah.
Things like major heart problems, brain damage, seizures, blindness, profound muscle weakness, even organ failure. And it affects roughly 1 in 5,000 babies born.
1 in 5,000, that's surprisingly common.
More than many people realize, definitely.
And because it's passed down the maternal line and there's no cure, well, the personal stories are just heartbreaking. You mentioned the Kiddo family.
Yes. Their daughter, Poppy, 14, she's in a wheelchair, nonverbal, needs tube feeding. And then her older sister, Lily, who's 16, she faces the possibility of passing it on herself.
That's an unimaginable burden.
Absolutely. So you can understand why this new treatment, even though the families remain anonymous, is met with words like hope, joy, and deep gratitude.
Yeah.
It's lifting this immense weight.
That really does bring it home. So faced with something so relentless, what's the solution? This is where the 3-person DNA technique comes in.
Right. The basic idea is you're combining genetic material from the mom, the dad, and crucially, a second egg from a donor woman who has healthy mitochondria.
Oh, so how did that work on a practical level in the lab?
Or it's incredibly precise. First, you take eggs from both the mother and the donor and fertilize both with the father's sperm in the lab.
Okay.
As these embryos start developing, the DNA from the sperm and egg forms these structures called pronuclei. Think of these as containing the main genetic blueprints, hair color, eye color, height, all that stuff.
The nuclear DNA.
Exactly, the nuclear DNA.
Yeah.
Then, very carefully, scientists remove these pronuclei from both embryos.
From both. Okay.
Yes, and the final step is to take the parent's pronuclei, their genetic blueprint, and transfer it into the donor embryo, the one that started with a healthy mitochondria but has had its own pronuclei removed.
Ah, okay. So you end up with an embryo containing the parent's main DNA, but sitting within the donor egg cytoplasm, which includes the healthy mitochondria.
Precisely.
So the resulting child gets almost all their DNA, the vast majority, from their mom and dad.
Over 99.8% yes. The core blueprint is entirely from the parents.
But that tiny fraction, about 0.1%, comes from the donor woman.
Correct, and that 0.1% is the mitochondrial DNA. It doesn't code for traits like appearance or personality, but it's absolutely vital for energy production.
And critically, because it is DNA and it's passed down maternally, any girls born using this technique will pass the donor's mitochondrial DNA onto their children.
That's the key point. It's a change that gets passed down the generations through the female line. It's a permanent alteration.
Now, let's talk about the UK's role in this. It seems they've been absolutely central.
Oh, definitely. The science itself was developed, painstakingly really, over more than a decade at Newcastle University and the NHS Trust there.
So the scientific groundwork was laid in the UK.
Yes, but what's also really significant is that the UK didn't just stop at the science. They became the very first country in the world to actually create laws specifically allowing this procedure.
That was after a vote in Parliament, right, back in 2015.
That's the one. A landmark decision. And following that, a specialist NHS service was set up in 2017 to actually offer the treatment.
It's quite a combination of the science, the political will, the healthcare system support.
Absolutely. Professor Sir Doug Turnbull, who was key in developing the science, actually said he felt it could only have happened in the UK because of that unique mix, top-tier science, the enabling laws, and the NHS backing it.
A unique ecosystem, as you say. So the system's in place, the science is done.
Mm.
What about the results? What have we actually seen?
Well, we've got some solid data now. 2 reports published in the New England Journal of Medicine detailed the experience of the Newcastle Fertility Center.
Okay.
They covered 22 families who went through the process, and out of that, so far, 8 babies have been born. 4 boys, 4 girls, including 1 set of twins, and there's 1 more pregnancy ongoing.
8 babies, and how are they doing?
The reports are really positive on that front. All 8 were born free of the mitochondrial disease they were at risk for. And importantly, they've all been meeting their developmental milestones as expected.
That must be incredible news for the families and the researchers.
Immense relief, I think. Professor Bobby McFarland, who heads up the NHS service for these disorders, spoke about just seeing these babies alive, thriving, and developing normally. You can feel the weight lifted in that statement.
Now, you mentioned monitoring. Were there any health issues noted at all, even if unrelated?
Yes, and transparency here is important. There was 1 reported case of epilepsy, but interestingly, it cleared up on its own. And another child had an abnormal heart rhythm, which is being treated successfully.
But these aren't thought to be linked to the mitochondrial aspect.
Correct. The current thinking is that these are more likely related to the known, though small, risks associated with IVF generally, or perhaps something specific to the manipulation involved in this particular technique. Or it could simply be they were picked up because these babies are being monitored so incredibly closely.
Right. Very intense follow-up.
Exactly. Which brings us to that crucial question of carryover.
Ah, yes. The idea that maybe some faulty mitochondria could still get transferred accidentally.
Precisely. Even with the most careful technique, when you move the parent's pronuclei, a tiny, tiny amount of the original egg cytoplasm, which contains the mitochondria, might get carried over into the donor egg. We need to know how much, if any, defective mitochondria makes it across.
So what did the monitoring find there?
Well, in 5 of the cases, diseased mitochondria were completely undetectable in the samples tested, which is fantastic.
That's the ideal outcome.
Absolutely. In the other 3 cases, they did detect some defective mitochondria levels between 5% and 20% in blood and urine samples.
Okay, 5 to 20%. How significant is that level?
That's the key question. It's generally thought that you need a much higher level, perhaps around 80% or more, of defective mitochondria before you start seeing clinical symptoms of the disease. So these levels are well below that threshold.
So encouraging, but still something to watch closely?
Definitely. Professor Mary Herbert from Newcastle stressed exactly that. The findings are optimistic, yes, but more research is crucial to really understand the limitations, if any, and keep refining the treatment.
Okay, stepping back a bit now. When this was first being debated, before the law changed, there must have been some significant ethical discussions, right?
Oh, absolutely. Intense debate. A major point revolved around the fact that mitochondria do have their own DNA. It's separate from our main nuclear DNA.
Right, that 0.1% we talked about.
Exactly. And because it's inherited maternally, any girls born from this technique will pass that donor mitochondrial DNA to their children and their daughters to their children and so on. It's a permanent change to that specific genetic lineage.
Which inevitably led to concerns about, well, the phrase designer babies often comes up.
It did. That term is usually used in the context of trying to select for non-medical traits, like intelligence or appearance, which isn't what's happening here at all. This is squarely aimed at preventing severe disease.
A therapeutic intervention.
Yes, a therapeutic intervention.
Right.
But it definitely pushed the boundaries and forced a societal conversation about where we draw the line. You know, the difference between treatment and enhancement and the implications of making heritable changes to our genome, even for preventing disease.
It's a complex area.
Very. But despite those debates, for the families affected, the message seems clear. Liz Curtis from the Lilly Foundation, which supports families with mitochondrial disease, called it the first real hope of breaking the cycle of this inherited condition.
Breaking this cycle. That's powerful. For families facing this generation after generation, that must mean everything. So, wrapping things up, this deep dive really highlights an amazing story out of the UK, this blend of cutting-edge science, forward-thinking legislation, and a healthcare system able to deliver it.
Yeah, the core achievement is undeniable. preventing a truly devastating group of diseases and offering families a chance at a future free from that specific genetic burden.
It's a massive step.
It really is. And looking at the bigger picture, it's a testament to human ingenuity, isn't it? But it also absolutely keeps those important questions front and center. Questions about the long-term effects, about making permanent changes to human genetic inheritance.
Even when the goal is purely therapeutic.
Even then,
Hmm.
it pushes us to think about what constitutes family, heredity, and maybe even what it means to be human as our technological capabilities grow.
So it leaves us thinking, how will this pioneering work continue to shape our understanding of heredity? And what responsibilities do we carry when we gain the power to alter our genetic future, even just a tiny part of it? Definitely